Hey everyone, welcome to a fun and exciting episode of BioLogic Science News. Today, I want to talk about a study involving video games and the gray matter in the brain. It's widely known that the extent and quality of the gray matter in, for example, the hippocampus, is directly associated with a generally healthy cognition. Low gray matter is associated with neurodegenerative diseases, like Alzheimer's disease. In structures like the cerebellum, active use of the associated brain regions can create a higher density and a larger mass of gray matter, whereas disuse of a brain region tends to atrophy the gray matter. It's also understood that playing video games, especially games with simulated three-dimensional environments, can stimulate brain activity and promote brain health. The recent study that I want to talk about looked at the association between video game use and gray matter in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, the hippocampus, and the cerebellum in the brains of older adults. The study was published in the journal PLOS One, and it examined, specifically, 33 older adults between the ages of 55 and 75. These 33 people were divided into 3 groups. 2 of them were control groups, and 1 of them was an experimental group. One control group did not have any treatment at all, making them a base control or a true control. The other control group was an active control group, because while they weren't playing video games, they weren't engaged in the treatment that's being tested, they were engaged in computer-based piano lessons. The actual experimental group consisted of individuals who participated in video game training for 6 months. The video game chosen by the researchers for its fast-paced, three-dimensional interface? Super Mario 64. Super Mario 64 is useful for several reasons. It's a 3D platform game, which means it has a map that the player character can move around. Some characters move faster than others. Some have special abilities to move faster or to teleport or fly. Manipulating the character to move through an environment in a deliberate, planned way with all of these interactive abilities stimulates gray matter in the cerebellum. Furthermore, making choices in a fast-paced, player-versus-player environment is extremely stimulating for most of the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex, which is associated with maintaining attention, alertness, and decision-making, as well as the working short-term memory involved in keeping track of various abilities and the behavior of opponents. Memorizing maps and abilities and combos involves muscle memory and skill memory and recall memory, which all stimulates the associated brain regions, which exist within the hippocampus. After their 6-month study, the researchers found that each group had very different results. The true control group experienced no significant gain in gray matter. In fact, they actually experienced a loss in gray matter in the hippocampus over the 6-month period of study, as they weren't getting any major stimulation. Now, the active control group, the control group that was taking those piano lessons on the computer, they actually didn't have any gray matter loss. Instead, they showed increased gray matter in the cerebellum and in the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. The experimental group showed the best results. By playing a complex, fast-paced 3D platform video game over a 6-month period, they stimulated their brains and they developed gray matter so much that they actually had similar gray matter levels as a healthy person half their age. This is really exciting news because it really reinforces this idea that video games are good for neuroplasticity, and that as people age, video games can remain a viable solution for sustaining cognitive health and for sustaining gray matter and healthy cognition. In the future, we might even start seeing studies that say that playing video games reduces one's risk or slows down the development of dementia. Wouldn't that be kind of wild? So one day we might just be able to thank Mario and Master Chief and Samus for keeping our brains relatively young and healthy.